time. We are here to talk mules and donkeys for the next hour. My name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards. I know nothing. Steve knows a lot. Steve is still learning, and we are happy to come here. I'll ask whatever questions come through, and Steve, how about you answer them as best you can? Best you know from the last 40 plus years.
We'll figure that one out. I'm excited. Jolinda.
Yeah?
From the Netherlands.
Yolanda?
Yeah, Jolanda, yeah. Did she send you the video of her mule scapula and stuff?
She may have. I haven't been in Facebook recently, but she very well may have.
By messenger, I think she said she was going to do it. She's so excited. She says, Steve, I've got video of that scapula going up and down. No wonder I had problems. You were right.
Goodness. Yep. Yep, that's right. That's right. That scapula. People don't understand that the way the mule moves, well, our friends here understand it, but the rest of the people out there, they don't understand that the way the mule moves and the donkey moves is different than the horse. It's not just equine is equine. They are uniquely created. They are drastically different in their bone structure and the way they move than the horses. And anyways, that's what we'll talk about today. Let's see who's all here so far. We've got Sarah from South Dakota. It is rainy and 51. And matter of fact, that reminds me, I need to tell people exactly what they need to do. What we need to do here is if you are watching, we need you to say hello. In the comment section below, go ahead and put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like. Those are the three things we start off with every single week just because it's a big, happy family here. We enjoy knowing where people are at and what things are like, and we'll have some great stories here. David Pengelly is joining us from somewhere in the world. I'm very, very sure. He travels all the time.
He's not traveling anymore. He's retired because of this coronavirus. The cruise ships are done for a while.
Cruise ships are done, retired for a little bit, but brewing coffee?
Brewing coffee and riding his mule in the new ultralight saddle.
That's right. Last week, we had somebody chime in, and I missed this comment. I was going back through today looking at past week's comment, and somebody said, Steve, love your saddles, love your coffee, all three flavors, ask, tell, and demand. People are probably, Steve's coffee. Steve, are you in the coffee business now?
Well, David Pengelly's wife come up with this great little deal. She made up a package and sent it to me and asked, tell, demand coffee, actually 3 different kinds. And I said, well, that's pretty good stuff. So I was drinking it and talking about it during the show, showed everybody the package, and people had some interest in it. So we said, all right, by golly, we'll have the ask, tell, demand coffee. It'll work good.
We put it up there.
Yep.
We've got, let's see, we've got Taylor watching from Salt Lake City. It's sunny and 63. We've got David and Di Scholl watching from Australia. We've gone international. It's good to have y'all. Have you talked to them much since you come back from Australia? Have you had a chance to chat?
Yeah, we've been texting, and we've also chatted on the phone, too. And he's gained a couple more new mules. And he's thinking about putting together one of those cartons, that those shipping containers.
Yeah.
And he's thinking about putting one of those together and then coming over here and taking all of my harness and wagon and stuff back to Australia with him.
That's right. You've got, what's the chassis that you've got underneath your wagon?
63 Chevy truck undercarriage.
There you go.
Yeah.
Lots of memories with that thing, driving them around, training, all sorts of stuff. Give me one story that pops out of your mind with that wagon.
Oh man. Well, Andy Anderson, my buddy that passed away here a couple of years ago, went home to be with the Lord. Him and I built that wagon together, and I still remember hooking 6 mules up on the front and tying 6 mules in the back, and having old DeLoss Burke and Nick West and those old cowboys that used to come down here for the winter all get in a wagon with me. We'd go all day long just driving mules, riding mules, packing mules, but we'd have 12 mules with us, an average at a time, and just going out, we'd pack a lunch with us, some cold drinks, and go out and ride and train all day long. Boy, that was something. To just be with them old guys and hear them stories, that's good,
That's good. That's very good. We've got Cowboykin watching over on Facebook. We've got Rebecca. Hello, Steve and Dave, watching from North Carolina. Sunshine and 67 degrees. Ross is watching from Emmett, Idaho at 63 degrees. Linda, the mule servant, and Theo, the sweet one-eyed mule in rural central Ohio, 64 degrees and sunny for a change. Take that sun, Linda. Get that vitamin D. Rip is watching. El Captain from Arizona. We've got the gang here. So the way this is going to work, folks, is the same way it works every weekend. If this is your first time ever hanging out with us, welcome, and I'm excited to share this broadcast with you, this live mule and donkey clinic. It's very easy. All you have to do, well, you don't have to, but if you want to participate, all you have to do is put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like in the comments section. We want to know that you're here. Steve and I have been friends for a long time. Steve is my second dad. We have a lot of fun talking to one another and enjoying hanging out, but we can do that anytime. This time is all about you, and we want to hear from you. The second thing is any and every question that you've got, go ahead, put it in the comments section. We make it a priority to get to every single question that's asked. I don't recall a clinic in the last year where we didn't get to a question, at least because we ran out of time. We go over if we have to. And then the third thing is that we ask that you share the broadcast. If you're on YouTube, share the link with your friends, your family who are into mules and donkeys. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and tag people. You can just hit the @ symbol, type their name in the comment section. And that lets them know, hey, this is going on. We think you might be interested. This could very well change your life. Not guaranteeing it, but I can neither confirm nor deny that it has changed some other folks' lives. We want you to get in on that. Kathy is watching from Cotati, California. Cold and rainy, 55 degrees. David Pingelli says, thanks for the shout out on the coffee. Sorting cattle again tomorrow with the new saddle. Weather is great here today in Sonoya, Georgia. Are you ever coming this way? The 35 Ford is waiting for you, Steve.
He's got a nice 35 Ford hot rod. He wants me to come over there and ride some mules and drive the hot rod and drink some coffee.
That's what it sounds like.
I can do all those.
I know how to do all three of those right there. Jessica White is watching from Fort Worth, Texas. It's 82 degrees. Linda says, if Steve is your second dad, I'm jealous. You know what? It's been very cool. The way that Steve and I got connected, I won't make this long. I'll make it pretty quick. But a mutual friend of ours, I was leading music. I'm a musician, longtime musician. I was leading music for my college group at church over here near Arizona State University. And a mutual friend of ours, Michael, started going to the church. And he knew that I kind of did some video stuff, a little bit of internet stuff. And he said, I have a friend, a family friend, who is looking for someone to help him with some video. Would you be interested? And I was brand new married, working at the church, looking for any ways that I could to make side money. And I said, yeah, I'm interested. And so he connected me to Steve, and he goes, what Steve wants, here's the videos. He wants lightning on the front of this videotape that says not made in Hollywood. This is a real working ranch. So whatever you see is what you get. And so I added lightning with not made in Hollywood. And Steve was just head over here. Steve, you were excited about that, weren't you?
Yeah, boy. That was with that lightning striking, and it says, this is not Hollywood.
That's right.
It's it's the real thing. That's people say, well, I hear a lot of wind and stuff, and I said, well, that's part of training. My videos aren't Hollywood quality, but you can learn a little bit if you kind of pay attention.
Yeah, that's it. And so that's how Steve and I got connected. The rest is history. So let's get into our first question of the day, and this one comes from Nick. Steve, this is a pretty common question that we get, and I figured I'd give you a chance to answer it here, as well as get you in touch with Nick. He says, "Hi, Steve. We moved from France to England 3 years ago and rescued some donkeys and a 13-year-old mule. Whilst there are a lot of mules here in France, we can't find a saddle maker. I have watched lots of your YouTube stuff and wonder if you can advise which of your saddles you would recommend for trail riding. She is 14 one hands high and a semi-draught. Could you recommend all of the kit we would need, etc.? So Steve, if someone is wanting to ride the trails, what are the basics that they're going to need? Is there a particular saddle that they're going to want to look at?
Well, all my saddles pretty much help you with the trail. A lot of my clients are really looking at having a saddle that's light, and I've really been working hard on that over the past few years. Matter of fact, I've got a new saddle that should be coming out next month, I'm thinking, Dave, and that's the ultralight, and it's all leather and it's 20 pounds. David Pengali has one, and another one of my clients, a packer and a hunter up in Idaho, has one. Can't think of his name right now, but anyway, I actually rode the saddle down on the Andrada Ranch just here this past week, and boy, I really enjoyed it. It's really soft leather. We imported a bunch of really nice pre-dyed leather from Argentina, and boy, it's a heck of a saddle. So that saddle or my trail light, and as with always, folks, the breeching, the breast collar, the cinches is really important. I had a guy today, I had quite a discussion with him. He sent me a picture of a saddle pad and said, well, the saddle pad's kind of wearing out right here. And I look at it, it's the very front part of the pad, and that just doesn't really happen, So I said, well, send me some pictures of the saddle sitting on the mule. And sure enough, it was my saddle that he had bought used from a lady, but he had it rigged incorrectly, and he had no breech.
Oh, we got Steve frozen there for a second.
With it.
Steve, it froze there for a second.
Yeah, you got frozen.
I got frozen.
Yeah,
okay, I think we're good. Okay, so he had a used saddle.
Like this. Yeah.
Oh, yep. He had a used saddle, and he had it rigged up incorrectly. That's where we lost you. Go ahead.
Yes, he had it rigged up incorrectly. I said, didn't you get my video? He said, no, I didn't get the video. And he says, I center fired it. And I said, that's going to make the saddle go forward. I said, look at your saddle. It's right now setting up in the back, and it's pushing down on the scapula. And every time that scapula goes up and down, it bangs against there. And he says, oh, well, so-and-so told me that I didn't need to have a breeching, and so-and-so told me I didn't need to have a rear cinch, And I says, well, partner, I'm the one that designed the saddle, and I'm telling you, without a breeching, without a tight rear cinch, your saddle's going to move, And then he also had a horse breast collar attached to the front. So, folks, here's an easy thing to do. You look at the front cinch, you'll see it's at an angle. And because it's at an angle, it's going to bring that saddle forward. But if you have a back cinch that's straight and a front cinch that's at an angle, the back cinch is going to keep the front cinch from pulling the saddle forward. So you want to make sure you do that. And then you want to have your cinches 4 to 6 inches apart. And that way it's going to stay, Folks, my saddles are what I designed. They're not horse saddles. They're not the mule saddle. These are my saddles. They're completely different than anybody else's. The rigging them up and this sort of thing are pretty simple. Now, the other thing somebody told this guy was, you can just ride with a crupper. You don't need a breeching. I said, well, if you want to break the tail of your mule and kill your mule, yeah, you could do that, Because what people have done is they've loosened up the tail crupper, and then the breeching, the crupper come up the tail, pushed on it, and broke the tail, and they therefore broke the back. It's a horrible thing, but I can't tell everybody, Dave. I just try to help as many people who wants to learn, and we'll get her done.
Well, that's why we do these broadcasts here, and we got folks who go back, days, weeks, months, even years, a whole year after we've done these broadcasts, going back and learning, and winds up helping a lot of people, and that's the best thing we can hope for. That's why we do it. That's why we put all the information out there, and we hope that folks will pass it along. I want to say thank you. Speaking of passing it along, I wanted to say thank you to Jessica White. She tagged Michael, so Michael, hopefully you're joining us, whether live or in the recording. Jessica, thanks for doing that. We've got Sharon and Steve Stotts. Hello from Fair Play, Kentucky. We've got Maria from San Martin, California. Cloudy and windy today. I'll take some clouds. I'll take some wind. That'd be nice. Okay, Jolanda saying, Steve, guess what? My saddle maker had, thank God, beta straps, and now the Britchen is complete as it should be, and now I can adjust everything the way it should be fit. I have sent you pictures on Messenger. So we love hearing that, which, matter of fact, we've gone international there. All right. Warren is watching, and Warren has the question. Hi, Steve. Warren from Prescott Valley. How tight Should the cinches be on my mule? Sometimes I think I cinch it up too tight. Thanks, Warren. Steve?
You know, Warren, it's the most important thing you can do is try to figure out how your saddle is staying into place. Now, you'll see on some of my videos that cinches are hanging down this far from the bottom of the belly. And if you're just riding along, just trail riding, you know, you don't have to have it that tight. If I got some mountains that I'm going down pretty steep, then yeah, I'm going to snug it up pretty tight. If I'm going to be roping, if I'm going to be dragging calves to fire, then I'm going to have to snug it up there tight. But it really depends on the situation that you're in, what type of riding you're doing at the time. When I first cinch up everything, I cinch up in 4 stages. So first stage, both cinches are just starting to touch the hairs of the mule. Second stage, I tighten the back cinch up 1 notch, and then I walk the mule in a circle. And then when I walk the mule in a circle, I stop, and then I tighten it up 1 more notch. And then I put my bridle on, and I walk the mule in a circle. I look and I check my cinch. Sometimes I could even get 1 more. Now the idea, folks, of walking them around in a circle is the saddle starts to settle. The animal is not blowing himself up trying to protect himself. See, that's one of the problems we have to look at, is that if you are over tightening the cinch, the mule is trying to tell you, the donkey is trying to tell you that, hey, your cinches are too tight and you're making me uncomfortable. So you do it in 3 to 4 stages going around in a circle, and the mule and the donkey will loosen up, they'll relax. You've made them really uncomfortable by trying to cinch it all up at one time with them standing still. You're teaching them bad habits. Plus that's when you can usually get hurt. It's because the cinch is too tight and you didn't walk them around to loosen things up. And 80% of our accidents on equine is getting on and getting off.
So I put a link in the comments section to the Mule Saddle Training course. And in this course, it's a free 13-part course, so there's 13 videos in there. There is a section where Steve demonstrates exactly what he just talked about. You can see him saddle, tack up, walk around, come back, readjust, walk around, come back, readjust, and do everything that he's talking about. You will get a really high level of clarity on exactly how those adjustments should be made. And there's really great angles on the cameras in that video course that shows you how tight they need to be. Gives you a really great starting point. And then, of course, you can send a message to Steve with everything tacked up and say, hey, does this look good? And Steve will tell you exactly how it looks. So good question there. Folks got a lot of questions about the cinches, and we're happy to answer them because that's one little thing that goes a long way in terms of making your mule comfortable and making sure that you're not causing problems that are going to show up down the road. You can fix one problem now, but you cause 3 or 4 that are going to show up down the road later. Linda asked the question as well, how to tighten a cinch. So Linda, hopefully that gave you the answer that you needed. James says, hello from Holden, Missouri, 65 degrees and getting ready to storm. Eileen's watching from rainy Nebraska. Eileen is just here week in, week out, and we love having you, Eileen. Astra is watching. So happy to have you. David Pingelli says, I absolutely love my ultralight and I love my trail light also. So we like hearing that. I took a couple screenshots there. We're going to put that on our new website with some testimonials there. Let people know. Let the people know. Go. We got Trisha watching from Alaska. Jessica White has a Burro nutrition question. There's a lot of information out there on Burro nutrition. What is your recommendation? Feed? No feed. Salt lick? My burros are kept on a good grass pasture with horses, and the horses are fed total equine. Jessica, this is a really, really good question, and this is a really good opportunity to increase the value of your nutrition program for your burro. You are going to love this information. Steve, go ahead. Share with her what she needs to know.
I'm sure you're going to send her a couple of the video on where we're talking with feed company.
I'm getting it right now.
My article on Mules Can't Stand Prosperity. Here's the thing, folks. When you take a donkey and you put them in a pasture, it's like putting us in a smorgasbord. and we always overeat. Well, here's the downside, especially this time of year when the spring grasses are coming up. That cotton picking feed is really strong in sugar, carbohydrates. And what that happens is then they're eating, and that carbohydrate sets up on them donkeys across their neck, across the dock of their tail, and the point of the croup, and you have grass founder. Now, I always suggest muzzle them. Muzzle the donkey, muzzle the mule. They don't need, folks. They don't need to be out there grazing 24/7. They don't need it. You're not butchering them like cattle. So they really need to have, main thing got to get done is get their teeth balanced and floated, and then limit their feed intake. Now, if you got them as stock protectors, that's one thing. But here's the thing, folks. It's so easy to grass founder a donkey, extremely easy. So I would, stay away from any extras right now. Salt, yes, always salt. I've got some new products that I'm going to be talking about. Hopefully, within the next couple months.
Yeah.
About salt and vitamins and minerals and this sort of thing. So it ought to be really interesting what we got coming out.
Now, feed is a topic that just continues to come up, and it is so important. I was getting the link, so I don't know if you had mentioned this, but I'll mention it. One of the things that a lot of folks will want to know is, do I really want to, pin up, put in the stall my mule or my donkey? I've got all this free feed out here. Well, one of the benefits that you'll hear Steve talk about as you watch these broadcasts is that you know exactly how much food they're getting. You know exactly what nutrition they're getting, and they start to need you. A lot of times, if they're out there with all the free feed, they don't need you. So why would they come to you? But when you put them in the stall, when you are the one that they're dependent upon for the food, that is a leadership development tool, and they start to need you and they start to want you, and that's quite frankly one of the ways that you can establish a good relationship with the animal as the herd leader. Did I get that correct, Steve?
Absolutely. I see it time and time again, but the folks, we got to remember that it's really easy to founder a donkey, really easy to founder a mule and a horse too, but your donkey has horrible feet. And it's really easy to have contracted heels and contracted hooves. And when they're overeating and they're eating the incorrect feed, folks, just because it's grass doesn't mean it's the right feed at that time frame. Just because you have hay doesn't mean it's the right hay. Because hay can be a first, second, or third cutting. It can have a lot of things in there that you don't really want your mule or donkey to have. And I think the articles here will help you out, and especially when we're talking about feed with Lake and Light's the administrator there.
Feed. Great questions. Keep those feed questions coming. Matter of fact, if you haven't shared your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like, we really want to hear from you. So I'm Dave. This is Steve. Steve and I have been friends for over a decade, and Steve has been working with mules longer than I've been alive. So he's got a couple things to share, and I just ask as many questions as I can think of, and I pass along the questions y'all ask. So go ahead, put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like in the comments section. And then we ask that you ask any and every question that you got. I have about 2 more that I've got listed here, and there's a couple that have come through. We want to get to all the questions we can today because this stuff's important. You are stewarding over an amazing piece of creation, and we want to make sure that you do that well for their sake, but then also for your sake. We want you to enjoy your mule and your donkey, and we want you to stay safe, and that's why we do these broadcasts. And then third thing is just tag someone who you want to come watch and hang out with you. And if you're on Facebook, just type the @ symbol and then their name and tag them. If you're on YouTube, grab that link at the top in the browser bar and send that to folks who you know would appreciate feed information, shoeing, saddles, tack, britchens, crupper, riding on an incline, all sorts of the different things, cowboy hats, all sorts of the different things we're talking about here. Make sure you share it with them. Trisha's watching from Alaska, 62 degrees and sunny, 17 hours of daylight here. Dan Davis is watching. It's Texas, 77 and overcast. Wanted to let my mule graze without fences. Is it okay to put a 3-foot hobble on and then let him graze?
3-foot hobble. Wonder what he means by that. Maybe. Well, the way I usually hobble, if they're going to be grazing out and hobble them, is I hobble a left front foot, a right rear foot with a rope between the two, enough that they can scoot to graze. And that's a lot of what we'll do a lot out on trails or camping overnight and things like this is fine. But here's the thing, folks. Again, I want to point out to you, these animals don't need to be grazing all the time. Feed them the nutrition that they need to have. You'll have a healthy animal. Watch their manure, watch their water intake, make sure that their teeth are floated, make sure that they have the right vitamins and minerals. Because just because they're out there on grass doesn't mean they're getting the vitamins and minerals that they need. That's really important. There's a lot more to it, folks, than just say, here's a bunch of pasture, go eat.
Yeah.
Or here's a bunch of hay, go eat. You got an animal that you got to take care of, and that vitamins and minerals and that nutrition is very, very, very important.
And just going out to pasture, depending on what you've got out there, you're going to get souped up on carbohydrates. And if they don't, folks will say, well, what do I need to feed? And one thing you'll say is, well, what are you looking to do? What are you trying to do? If you're going to be working them real hard, well, then you're going to want more energy. You're going to want a specific type of feed with specific vitamins and minerals to accommodate that. If they're just hanging out the entire day, just not doing a whole lot of anything, well, you don't want to give them that rocket fuel, and then you're going to have problems on your hand. Now you're talking safety. So it really does. There is a lot to it. We'll keep the conversation going. Over on YouTube, we've got Richard from Palestine, Texas. We've got David from Rainy, Kentucky. We've got Yosef. Hey, Steve. We've got Sarah that's asking. Okay, let's see what you got here, Steve. What was your biggest wreck, and what did you learn from it? If you are comfortable talking about it, a personal experience here, we'd love to hear it. Now, I don't know if this is the biggest one, but I do know right before one of these broadcasts last year, Steve comes in, he goes, I just got pinned up against the railing by a bull. Stuck his horn, drove me up against the railing. I'm a little sore right here, but I'll be good to go. So I don't know if that's the worst, but what do you say, Steve?
Oh, I've had a bunch of wrecks. I've rolled off the sides of mountains and got tangled up some ropes. One wreck that kind of comes to my mind in particular is I was riding the mountains up here behind my ranch and riding a real good mule colt, and we was coming down off the side of the mountain, and all of a sudden a rattlesnake went off, and I looked off to my left, and there was that rattlesnake, and I looked and I seen him coming, his mouth coming right up, and he bit my mule in the left rear leg. And so that mule jumped, and we started bouncing down the side of the mountain. Now, I'm not on any trails, and there's rocks and cactus, and it was a good time to stay in the saddle. So I rode him all the way down, and got down within about 50 yards of my gate. And all of a sudden, the bushes kind of started going with the wind. It scared my mule again. He put his nose on the ground and planted me like a post. I got 9 fractured ribs and a punctured lung on that one. Now, you're going to ask about the mule. How was the mule doing after being bit by the rattler? Well, the mule swelled up a little bit, went off his feed some, but come back just good and strong and no problem at all. I spent with a punctured lung. I went to see a chiropractor buddy of mine, didn't know that there was a punctured lung, and he did some x-rays and this sort of thing. He says, well, Steve, you get to the hospital right now. He says, you got to punch your lung. So we got there, and the doctor says, well, we're going to have to take you in, and we're going to do some surgery, and yada, yada, yada. And my wife and I praying about it and calling out to the Lord. And you know what? Didn't need no surgery. Ended up walking out of there. Ended up spending a lot of nights in my lazy boy chair because of too many busted bones. Whew. Yeah, but that's probably one of my big wrecks. I've had that bull, when that bull hit me, he didn't have any horns. He was he was a really good bull. Normally, he's pretty gentle, but still, all of them are crazy. But he had a broken back leg, and we were trying to put him in the trailer so we could get him to the ranch. And he turned and looked at me, and he hit me full force, but he couldn't hit me really hard because that back leg was broken, so he couldn't drive into me. But Randy says he could still see that bull hit me and raise me up, hit me and raise me up, and I'm hitting him in the head, and whew, that was kind of tough for a 70-year-old guy to have a bull hit him after all these years, you know.
I kid you not, folks. If you want to go back, I don't know the exact date, but if you go back and watch some of our older replays, these shows, I kid you not, it was 25, 30 minutes after that happened. Steve says, all right, Dave, let's go. I'm ready to answer some questions. I was like, are you sure? Like, we can postpone this? Like, we can cancel it? No, I'm good. So I was like, all right. Yeah. Sounds good. So that's a good question, Sarah. Thanks for asking that. Yosef says, I bought Steve's mule gear and did everything he said. Steve, no bucking. Pure peace from my mules. How's that?
Wow,
that's what we like
awesome.
to hear. That is the end result that we are going for. It's not about the tack. Yeah. It's not about the saddle. It's about no bucking, pure peace from my mules. And it takes a lot of pieces to get that way, but we love hearing that. Thank you, Yosef. Watching from Bun Level, North Carolina. Hey, Steve, he says, love it. Mark Miller asks a question. How many hours a day would you graze on good quality hay? So making that point there, good quality hay.
Well, if you're throwing a flake of hay in the morning and a flake of hay in the night, and of course the downside of feeding hay is you don't really know how many pounds it is. I used to weigh my stuff, but with a flake of hay that's about 4 inches wide and a normal 80-pound bale, that meal's pretty much going to take 2.5, 3 hours to eat it. And so I put him a flake in the morning, flake at night.
Very good. Let's see. We've got Rebecca watching from Canada, so gone international again. We've got Casey. Thanks for my amazing Mother's Day gift, Steve. My husband ordered your Britchen for me. I'm scared to take the Conchos off my saddle, but I need D-rings. Any chance you have a video on that? Steve, I don't know if we have a video on that. Any advice you'd give, Casey?
No. You just, if you don't have a Britchen rings on the back, you're going to have to take off the Conchos. And if they're like mine, you just unscrew them out, set your rings into place for your breeching, and then screw them back down into place. But it's just part of, if the saddle's not built, made for breeching, then you're going to have to put some rings on. And there's rings with plates. But no, I don't have any type of how-tos how to do that at all. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Casey, more than willing to help you as best we can. Thank you for asking. That's the best answer we got for that. But don't let that stop you from asking further questions. We're here to help you, and we want to make sure you get the most out of everything you're working on. Diane's here from Wooster, Ohio. I have a question. How do you handle hauling your mule if you move across the country? Example, Ohio to Arizona, which, welcome. If you're here in Arizona, we are so glad that you're here. Stick it out through October, and you're just going to love it in November all the way through May. Go ahead, Steve. How would you handle hauling across the country?
Well, I've hauled all kinds of ways. When I first started going on doing the clinics, I had a 3-horse trailer with 2 mules in it. And I don't halter them. I take them in, I put them into their individual stalls. I pull the halter off, and they stay in the trailer all day long. I never take them out, folks. Never take them out. I can tell you some horror stories of people who have taken their mules out and they couldn't get the mule back in the trailer. The mule ran off. One mule got killed, and there's lots of stories. So I usually just put them in a trailer and go. Now, I can also tell you that my one stock trailer that I had one year, I went up to Montana with And I just put the saddle on the mule, and that saddle stayed on the mule the whole trip. Once I got up to where we spent the night, the first night, then I pulled the saddle off. Then the next morning, and then turned the mule out in the fairgrounds. And then the next morning, put him back in the trailer, saddled up, and went rest away to Montana. But I just can't tell you enough, folks. They don't need to get out and stretch. These new trailers with these great axles and how they ride and this sort of thing, they'll be plenty refreshed. And I can tell you, I know horse haulers that haul all over the nation, and they don't take them out. They just go, and the mule will be just fine.
So one thing we've done the last couple of years out here in Arizona, the Arabian Horse Show comes once a year out in February, and it's out at the Westworld grounds north Scottsdale. So we went 2 years ago, Steve, and had so much fun. It was just exciting to go see all the mules coming through the arena and seeing the ribbons and the horses and the ribbons and the rodeo out there, and it's just the kids love it. So I've got 3 kids there, 8, 6, and 3, and so they really enjoy it quite a bit. The one thing that they love more than anything else, they live for this when we go out there. They want to go through all of the little houses. They want to go through the trailers. They just love that it's these little houses that's the right size for them. They're like, oh, there's a bed up there. Look at this. There's a bathroom in here. They just think that is the coolest thing. And so they all close up early, so we have to get out there before dark time so that we can go through. But that is, they have some cool trailers. Man, they've got some cool trailers today.
Yep. Yeah, my first trailer like that, it had a microwave oven. Boy, my wife and I thought we were really doing something, microwave oven. And we even had a refrigerator and not an ice chest. Boy.
Man, living the high life.
Oh, yeah.
That's right
now
there.
They're really fancy with slide outs and everything else.
They are.
Pretty incredible.
Really cool. Let's see here. We've got, Dan Davis. He said 3 foot. He meant like 3 foot, not like 3 feet like this, but 3-legged hobbles. So he's talking about leaving them out to graze, for 30 minutes with a 3-legged hobble. Yeah,
no, the 3-legged hobble teaches them too much to jump with the front hobbles. When you hobble a left front or right rear, makes them scoot. But when you hobble 2 front feet, folks, that makes them, the idea of 2 hobbles is not, and let me get this in your head, it is not for grazing. The folks that do that, they end up having mules and horses that can run clear back to the trailer, and I've seen that many a time. So 2 front legs is for hobbling, stand still, and quiet. A left front, right rear is they can scoot and go and graze. If you've got a place where you can tie to a tree, you could take one of your 40-foot lash ropes, put a hobble on the rear leg, tie it to a tree, and let them graze in that area as well.
Very good. I just put a link in there for Wait Right Here, the basics of hobbling, highlining, and picketing. So, folks, if that sounds like something that would be worthwhile to y'all, feel free, click that link and learn more about it. Aubrey's here. Aubrey from Hayfork, California. Having a great spring on my mule Clarabelle in my trail light saddle. Was wondering how you go about training a mule to hobble. And there you go. I just put the link to Wait Right Here.
There you go.
Is there a 1, 2, 3 maybe that you'd throw out there in addition, Steve?
The big thing with hobbling is getting them to stand still and quiet. So I would first do my halter work, my ground foundation, get them to understand that they need to stand still and quiet. And then you hobble them. You'll see it in the video. Also, my how to communicate with the mule has it on there as well. Just a little small little snippet. The Wait Here gives you a variety of hobbling and highlining and things like that.
Very good. Let's see. one thing that came through, I wanted to share this. We had some praise come through from Dory. Dory sent us this picture here of her minis. She says, one of my 3 minis, Molly, this girl was seriously nervous. After a year and a half of groundwork, this is where we are now. Many thanks to Steve for his training videos and training tools. So, very cool. So you see the picture there, Steve. I've got it up of the lines, and she's got the mini right there. How fun is it to see that?
Yep, great picture.
Absolutely fantastic. And then got a question here. This one came in from Jason. Jason's been real active, sending us messages and really figuring out how to do best by his animals. And folks, I'm going to show this to you right here. Kind of serious. He says, "Hey, Steve, I took 3 of my mules out last night trail riding. We were riding up the trail, and one mule kicked the other mule hard right in the head. They were only 3 to 4 feet apart. Is there anything that I can do to keep them from kicking?" Of course, I got the picture right there for folks to see.
Pretty ugly.
Yeah, it is pretty ugly. It's not good at all. So what do you say there, Steve?
You're not going to keep him from kicking. The mule obviously felt that there was a problem there, that he had tried to protect himself. You got to remember, folks, all donkeys, all mules, and even the horse thing too, they all bite, they all kick, they all run off. That's part of it. This mule must have felt threatened somehow or another. Maybe the rope may have caught him on the leg wrong or something like that. Now, one of the downsides is it sounds like this mule must have had his head down to get a bite to eat. Well, he's got his head down to get a bite to eat. The rope probably rubbed against the mule in the front. It scared that mule, and then he kicked him. So tells me that you do not have your grazing muzzles in place on your mules. Folks, when you're packing freight back in the mountains or going back in there hunting or camping, always put grazing muzzles on your mules. Don't let them eat on the trail. Here's one of the end results. The end result is the mule got kicked. He's lucky he's still alive, because that's an ugly cut there that needs to be stitched up. But anyway, that's the end result. The mule should have never had his head down there to start with. If he had had a muzzle on, he would have learned that he didn't need to do that. So, and also, I want to tell you, Jason, on packing, it depends on your trail as to how far apart you put your mules. I usually average from my fuse. It's called a fuse. It's a piece of baling twine on a ring to the back of the pack saddle to my mule is usually about an average of 6 foot. And I rarely go under that. And that way it gives them plenty of room to be able to move around and this sort of thing. And should there be a kick, there's a good possibility of getting away from it. But always, folks, when you're leading your mules, muzzle them. Put a muzzle on them. They're not allowed to eat on the trail. Here's the end result of what you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it just underscores that safety. They can do anything unpredictable at any given time. They don't show pain like we show pain. Of course, this might not have had anything to do there, but they don't show pain like we show pain. They don't show what's going on with them the way we do. And so it's really one of those deals where you need to know how they communicate so you can watch for those signs, and then picking up things like this, grazing muzzle on the trail, so they don't wind up trying to do that, and you can avoid an injury. We've got right here, let's see.
I might say too, Dave, I usually will take a mule like that knows where he needs to be. And if a young mule or a new mule tries to get out of place, I don't mind that mule kicking at that mule saying, get into place. Mm-hmm. But the problem we got here is that he kicked because it's natural. But if that mule hadn't have been grazing, then we wouldn't have a problem, most likely.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got Danielle watching. Danielle in Eugene, Oregon. Drizzly, but 80 last weekend. Gotta love that. Linda's got the question regarding donkeys and found her on spring grass. I have to watch our Jenny donkey every spring and bring her into the dirt pen part each day so she doesn't get all tender-footed. So just more conversation there on spring grass. So is that damaging the feet, or is it what's she tender-footed?
See, Dave, there's too much carbohydrates, and so heat builds up in the body, and the heat comes down into the feet, and then they actually will slough off a hoof. I've seen mules be actually put in a sling and be hanging in a sling for several months until their foot starts growing back. Folks, this is just an example here. She said she has to get him in because the feet get too hot and they get to where they can hardly walk. Yes, that's the very beginnings of grass founder. And that's actually, it's to the place to where it's really close to sloughing off a hoof, and it is ugly. I've seen some of them have to be put down. So she's doing right by getting them in, but don't put them out there. They don't need that. Buy some good quality second or third grade hunting hay cuttings, and don't put them out there in that pasture. You're going to lose your donkey.
Danielle tagged Dennis Foley, which we appreciate that, Danielle. Matter of fact, it's a good time just to reintroduce ourselves to everyone. My name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards. Every Wednesday, we get together, talk mules and donkeys, answer any questions we can. Steve's been working with mules and donkeys longer than I've been alive. And I'm not, young gun, but I'm also not, the old guy. I'm almost 38 this year. Steve's been working with mules and donkeys since before I was born. So we've got a few things that we can learn together. And Steve, do you want to tell them who your best teacher is learning about the mule and the donkey? Who the very best teacher is learning about the mule and the donkey? Trick question.
You.
Me?
No, actually, the very best trainer is actually the person that has his hand on the end of the line.
Very good.
Here's just what I like to tell folks. I put the foundation on the mule. I put the foundation on the donkey. Now you train it by every day you're doing things. So, but the good thing about it, if something happens to where the mule or donkey goes bad, then with the foundation you can always come back to it. But that's the way I get around that one.
Yeah. Well, and here's what here's the trick question. I should have prepped you for it. The mule and the donkey, they're the best instructor. They show you exactly what they want. They show you exactly what they want, exactly what you need. So if you are watching, we're so glad that you're here. We do this every Wednesday. We'd love to have you join us next week as well. We've still got some questions here to get through. But if you're watching, put your name, where you're watching from, what the weather's like. Put that in the comment section. If you're on YouTube, put it in there as well. Make sure to like and subscribe over on YouTube. And if you have any questions, put those in the comment section as well. We'll get to them. We get to every question every week. And Danielle tagged Dennis Foley, and that's what we love to see is mule and donkey folk looking out for each other, letting others know that, hey, there's this live clinic going on. You may be stuck up in your house or you may be stuck on your property. Doesn't mean you can't be getting instruction. There is a live clinic happening right now on YouTube and Facebook, and we are so glad you're here. Ahmed says, hello from Northwest North Dakota. Cool 50-degree weather here. I have some question about freeze branding. 1, how long do you apply the iron? Number 2, do you leave the iron longer for lighter color? And 3, what do you recommend for freezing medium, dry ice or something else? Good question. We haven't had that one in a long time.
I use a 1-pound coffee can with dry ice. Now, and this is very, very important. You need a special branding iron for freeze branding. I had one made, and it's made out of copper. And so going back to the next part of it, yes, it depends on the color of the animal as to how long you keep the hide on and keep the branding iron on. Okay? So if you get a paint mule that has a variety of colors or black with stocking legs, then you're going to hold it on a little longer. And remember, when you're branding, you rock up, down, left, right. And by doing that and keeping it on there, you'll have a good solid brand.
Very good. Let's see. We've got, it was just right there. Facebook just jumps all over the place. Carrie Lynn says, Carrie Lynn, Michigan, checking in from southern Iowa. Thank you for being here and sharing. Will you be having any clinics in Iowa or Missouri? Sure would like to share one of your clinics with my Sugar Moon Hill. I'll tell you what, folks, right now, of course, things are a little bit uncertain right now in terms of when live events are going to be happening. I can tell you that we would love to have you out to Queen Valley Mule Ranch for one of our clinics, which we will be scheduling here in the future. Want to make sure that we don't do it too far in advance, but far enough so folks can make plans. So we'd love you to have you come out here. But the best way to get Steve out to your area, of course, if you want to host a clinic, we can do that. But if there is an expo or an event, talk to the event organizers. The people that they listen to more than anybody else are the attendees and the participants. Those are the folks who they want to hear from. Matter of fact, the Hoosier Festival, they don't ask the same, if I'm getting the right one, they don't ask the same clinicians back 2 years in a row. They like to alternate every other year. Well, they didn't have a mule and donkey clinician, and Steve's tribe, you folks, contacted him and said, no, you have to have Steve there. And so they invited Steve back out for 2 years in a row at the Hoosier Festival. And it just goes to show that you are the ones who make the difference. Right,
Great
Steve?
Expo. Yep. Oh, yeah. Great expo. Of course, everything right now is being canceled.
Yeah.
I just found out that Bishop Mule Gaze is canceled as well.
Oh, goodness, man.
So, yeah. And
that's
a big one. So, yeah, it's all over the place. So it's going to be slow coming back, but it'll work.
Yep. Well, hey, if folks aren't traveling and you want some clinic work, you want some instruction, we just released last month all of Steve's videos, well, nearly all of Steve's videos into one giant collection. Yeah. So it's on sale, and you save $100 or $150 or something like that when you buy them in the collection. So if you're not traveling and you've got some extra budget money for clinics, expos, training, could be a good deal. I'll put a link in the comment section.
We had another sale going on that?
No, they're just on sale, normal price. Just on sale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. I thought maybe you had another sale where you had all of my videos at one time, because we had that sale last month. I thought
we
maybe
did.
It was another. Got you. Okay.
So it's about $100 off if you were to go through and buy all of them separately. If you buy the collection, it's I think it's $600 instead of $700 all individually, so you still save a little bit of money there.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. Taylor has a question. We haven't had a question like this in probably over a year. Good question, Taylor. Steve, what are your thoughts on buying a mule at sale versus buying a greener mule?
Oh, folks, you know what? The mules are getting better, but I was looking at a sale just today, and it showed the top sale animal and this sort of thing. And look at these sales, folks. Look on the internet when you are looking to buy something. Look and see where the saddle is setting. Look and see if there's a breeching. If there's no breeching, no sale. If the saddle is sitting on top of the scapula, no sale. If the front cinch is up against the up underneath the leg, no sale. Folks, listen, the equine right now, equine community is turning over to the mules and donkeys because the horse market went and took a dump, a tank. So now they're out there selling these mules and trying to stay back in business. And I understand that. The only problem is you got horse people riding these mules like a horse. Saddle too far forward, no breeching, sometimes no rear cinch, or sometimes the cinch is too far back, different things. Just remember, if there's no breeching, there's no sale. If the saddle is sitting on top of scapula, why am I saying that, folks? Because you don't realize the amount of damage that's happening to these mules and donkeys. So, the other thing too, when you're buying a mule and donkey, you make sure that you get a vet check. Not just a look at it and see if they got a wet nose or not at these sales. Not good enough. You're going to spend that kind of money for a friend that you're going to have for a lot of years. Folks, spend the money to get a good vet check, period. Now, the other thing too, and when you're doing this, what kind of feed are you feeding? What's your feeding program? Ask them about that. What's your shoeing program? If they say I don't shoe my mule, don't need to, no sale. You know, I'm done. So you'll see all the time. And I was looking at this thinking, that is horrible. If folks only knew that high selling mule that just sold for big bucks had the saddle sitting on top of the scapula, the no breeching, and the cinch sitting up underneath the front leg, it was horrible. And to think the people paid big bucks for that mule, and they probably didn't do a vet check on it, and probably has got some scapula problems.
I just put a link in the comment section to your video, so you want to buy a mule. Great video on just what to look for. Disposition first, conformation second, and what's third, Steve? I don't remember what third is.
Disposition, conformation, training.
Training, there you go. Disposition, conformation, training. So great video. So you want to buy a mule. Ross has got a question. Just real simple. How often do you deworm your mules?
Once a year, okay? And I change my wormer every time. I don't worm the same way, you know? So once a year. And that's because I do not put them on a pasture. If you put them on a pasture, they're going to need to be wormed at least twice, maybe even 3 times. But I usually say once a year. Now, it's also going to kind of depend on your country, because some places have bigger problems with worms than other places. But there's once a year, and I use a lot of Farnham products. I use Zamectin that I really like. But once a year, get her done. You know, but most of all, get the teeth floated every year.
Yep. Kimberly's watching from Gilbert. Good to have you here, Kimberly. We're so glad you're joining us. We've got Karen, happy to be here again from sunny Virginia. Glad to have you here, Karen. John McAllister, hello from Ohio. Right back at you, John. Karen's got different Karen from Raymond, California. Today was the first day for me to ride since last August after a very nasty wreck caused by a mountain biker. I must confess, I was real nervous getting back in the saddle. 1.5 hours in the saddle, felt good, and Sally Mae did wonderful. That's great. Love hearing that. Steve, I think we've got through every question that we had this week. I think we did a pretty good job. Every question that come through here, we got. So anything else that you want to share with folks today?
No, I think we're in good shape. I'm looking forward to seeing the video that Jolanda sent. It was very interesting. You know, she's so excited that she finally got to see what she needed to see, and that's really good. So, you know, if you got folks got any questions, the United States is back in place again. Our president has kind of opened things up, and it's going to be interesting to see how God uses him this year. And we do remember that in 2 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, that God does put in the leaders, and that's something we have to consider. So we need to be praying for our leaders and be praying for our first responders. And you all have a blessed week. Enjoy them mules. Send me them pictures. I want to see them pictures of them mules and donkeys.
Well, hey, real quick, Steve, I just found the video from Jolanda. Do you want me to go ahead and share it with folks?
Well, sure. We got time, don't we?
Yeah, we got about 1.5 minutes here, so let me share it. You won't be able to see it, Steve, but
I think I may have it here on my cell phone.
Do you have it on your cell phone? Let me see if I can download it here real quick and get it. Let's see, down.
Jolanda says, "Can you see if it is a 15.5, or 16-inch saddle?" So I need to look here and see what's.
I'm gonna put this in the video. So they're watching right now. They're watching this video where you can see the scapula going up and down. And, man, it is just vivid.
Wow.
It is really, really easy to see exactly what she's talking about there.
Yeah, Jolanda, I really can't tell you. It looks like a 15-inch, but look on the left-hand side of the pommel, and you will see a number right there that says 14 or 15 or whatever. I remember when I sold that saddle to that lady, we're talking, 6, 7, 8 years ago when she bought that saddle. Saddle looks like it's almost new.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put this picture up in here. Give me 1 second here. Shoot, that's not what I meant to do.
Wow, look at that skeleton of that of the mule and the horse. What a difference.
Yeah,
She's sharp.
it's great. I'm trying to get this in here. Give me 1 second. Okay, got that there. Get that so folks can see here. All right, so I'm showing them this picture here. I believe this is of the mule. Steve, I'm sending you this message right now. I believe this is the mule right here because it looks like that scapula. You can see it right up there.
I got the picture of it. I'm looking at it right now. Can you see the white marks on it? On top of the scapula?
I'm showing the skeleton.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the back of the mule right now and seeing that scapula go up, down, up, down, up, down. That's pretty cool. Jolanda, she hit it right on the money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she did. So you see in your phone there, I just sent you the picture.
Yeah.
That skeleton.
Yeah.
Come through. I just think that's
something we see. Yeah.
I just
donkey
think that,
and the horse.
Yeah, it's really cool to be able to see that there.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk more
incredible
about that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, hey, folks, thanks everyone for joining us, coming and spending some time with us. And we're excited to be here every single week. We'd love to have you join us next week. Be sure to go to muleranch.com. There's a lot of really great resources over there. A lot of really great free resources. And, of course, you can find all of Steve's tack, all of Steve's saddles over there, instructional videos, you name it, it's all over there. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. There's contact information on the website. Of course, you can always send Steve a message. That information is on the website too, muleranch.com. Steve, what do you say we see everyone next week?
I'm looking forward to her, buddy. We'll see you later.
All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye now.